sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances. Not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap, all in one, all for you. Tap in, zap in.
You're watching and listening to Coffee Time with Peter Gomez live on West Coast Radio, 92.1 on FM for listeners in this country, and www.wcr.gm for listeners outside this country. Let's talk about politics now. You've just founded a political party to contest in 2026. Right. What motivated you to move from economic commentary into actual politics? And tell us, the inspiration, motivation behind the name of the party. You've avoided the word party. I keep saying party, but there's no party in the name of your, let's say, group.
Right. Yeah. No, what made me go into politics? For me, politics was never a career aspiration for me. Even if you were to go 5 or 6 years back, I would have told you there's absolutely no chance. But, having left my international job and returned back to the country and being here and see, initially the hope we had for the country and seeing all of that, just dissipate and, that hope slowly being turned into despair. It's been a very difficult experience to go through. But more importantly, also commenting on events and scrutinizing things, seeing what is happening, then it's easy to obviously come to the conclusion, like many others, that the problem we have here is that of leadership.
Let me just butt in here. And while you were commenting, scrutinizing, as you just said, events, especially in the economic sphere, were you doing this as a subscriber to any political party? Were you a member of any political party?
Nope. I never was a member of any political party. I know some people assume that I was a member of other political parties, maybe even UDP and others.
Especially UDP.
Yes.
Especially UDP.
Yes. I was never a member of UDP. It was just an assumption people made. I think maybe people got that false impression due to my joint appearances with Lamin Mane on Kerfatu multiple times. But no, I was never a member of UDP. Okay. Yeah.
That's very, good to clarify.
Yes.
Because a lot of people thought, buying a UDP now, he sort of is, Patriotic Progressive Alliance. If you can just name your party for the first time this morning.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wasn't in, though I did look at the landscape, and for the most part, I've not been happy with what I've seen.
Not even with the UDP.
No, basically every party. I've looked at it. And I just believe that people needed to be given a new option.
Okay.
If you look at the last election, it wasn't encouraging. We voted. I voted for change. That change didn't happen. So the Gambian people looked at the alternative and they decided, the alternative was no better than the ruling party, because they voted for the ruling party, NPP. So given that reality, I don't think it would be a good idea to present the electorate with the same options. So I felt that it was important that people are given a different alternative. Yeah. So for me, the idea of going into politics really is to I believe the fundamental problem we have here is leadership. A leadership that is competent, that has integrity. These are things that are really lacking currently, and I believe that if we offer, that's something that I can bring to the table, because number one, I'm not going into politics because I have no outside option. That's not why I could. If I have easier routes to material wealth, if that is my goal. I'm sure if it had been my goal to even get a ministerial post here, I could have gotten it. I turned down invitations to meet the president because I have no intention to.
Well, meeting him does not automatically, translate to a ministerial position.
No, it does not. It doesn't. Though I have been, offered huge sums of money for not doing anything, but I mean, probably as a way of co-opting me. Again, I turned those down.
All this happened?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I got...
was this after you started writing critical articles about...
exactly.
The country was being run?
Indeed, yeah.
So you would say that was a way of trying to silence you?
Absolutely. Not long ago, actually, I was offered a contract for $30 million for doing... probably nothing. Yeah, 30 million.
30 million.
30 million, yes. I mean, if I had taken that contract, imagine from a government...
A contract to do what per se?
Or a consultancy without a clear description of what the work is.
Oh, wow.
So if I had taken that, could I be criticizing this government about corruption?
No.
Should I, if a government that is serious about fighting corruption, should a managing director or a head of a unit call somebody directly and say, hey, I have this contract, I want to give it to you? So those were all, tricks to try to silence somebody.
And as an economist,
yeah.
After that happened, were you motivated, to even criticize more? Because, that was...
Absolutely.
That was for you proof that, the economy was being mismanaged.
Absolutely. I mean, and that was an institution, for me, that I had no doubt about the level of corruption, but that was just an extra data point as far as I'm concerned. Of course, there are far bigger scandals than that $30 million they tried to offer me. But, if I needed additional proof, that was it. Even if that hadn't happened, there were other proofs that you could find. I mean, you can read any audit report in the government, and there is no shortage of examples.
We'll come to audit reports and how they've been handled, managed, if you like, in this country. But just going back to inspiration for for the name of your...
Yes.
Well, let me stop using party, because for now it's an
no
alliance.
problem, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. You can call it a political party. I mean, that's the goal, to be a political party.
Progressive alliance.
No, so it's good that you asked me that name, because we were quite deliberate in that name. The key part here is it's patriotism. I believe that this is something that is lacking in our current political leadership. Both among the political parties, the mainstream ones, and in their relationship with the people, this patriotism is lacking. What really characterizes their relationship among themselves and between them and the people is transaction, purely transactional relationships. In most of the political parties, whether it's the ruling parties or the existing ones, you only see them going out to meet the people when election is fast approaching. So it is it's mainly just transaction, But within that 5-year period, there are all sorts of things happening in the lives of people that these politicians can go understand the problems, knowing what policies should be formulated, which ones should be prioritized when they are implementing or financing them. But when you don't go out and understand what people are going through, when the president uses Meet the People's Store purely as a campaign tool, then what...
They deny that.
Well, they deny that. I mean, look at the incident in Banjul when a National Assembly member wanted to talk about conditions at the hospital. the president none of them addressed those what was happening, which is a fact that we've all seen at the conditions. But they were angry that somebody was trying to raise an issue that instead of praising them. So,
no, all the president said was this National Assembly member cannot know Banjul more than he himself.
Well, I'm pretty sure that is false, because according to the president, our hospitals are the best. You know, Americans are coming here for treatment. When that guy was giving him a real life example, you know, his ministers and others are going for treatment in India. You know, if what he said is true, shouldn't it be Indians coming here for treatment rather than government officials going to India for treatment? But the point here I wanted to make is that you see a lot of cross-carpeting. These people in one political party, when the situation is right, jump into another. Means there is no principles or integrity. It's a transactional relationship between the political parties themselves, among the political parties themselves, and also between their relationship between the parties and the people. So this is something that I think if we want progress in development, we have to change. And to change that, we need new voices, new people in. And this is what has motivated me. Listen, I know the number of people in the Gambia who can be better presidents than Adam Barrow is a lot.
Let me ask you, that's a good point you're making. So how do you plan to convince Gambians that an economist, all right, can also be an effective political leader?
You don't have to be an economist. You could be any other. No, okay, let me.
Dr. Gagigo is an economist.
Good.
You know, because you might frighten a lot of people. Well, he will be there. He would want to count every penny. I mean, if money that is supposed to go for this and this, he would say, well, justify it before I release and all of that.
I'm more than my field of study is development economics, okay. And one of that area is agriculture. So. By the way, I also operate farms in the country. That's actually my main thing. You know,
where you have irrigation and all of that.
Exactly.
Everything you're proposing for the state, if they were to go to your farm, they would find.
Pretty much, yeah. So I'm not just talking theory here.
Okay.
I've approached agriculture from different angles.
Okay.
From I worked at FAO, I worked at World Bank, I worked at African Development Bank and Columbia University, and all those areas I worked on agriculture. Of course, I've written intellectually on agriculture. I also have an agribusiness farm. And since I came to the Gambia in about 5 years ago, I set up a non-profit foundation that helps these women garden across the country. Oh. On an annual basis, we help close to 100 gardens across. In fact, as late as yesterday morning, I was in Jara East distributing vegetable seed to the women garden in Jara Barokunda. You know, this year I've already covered 85 villages and towns with vegetable seeds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of them we've drilled boreholes for them, some of them good fencing. Every single district is covered. So
you started implementing your political strategy early enough.
Well, you might look at it that way, but we have basically, this is something we've been doing for years before I even thought about it politically, because I started my farm in 2015. You know, when I returned back to Gambia.
Okay.
So it was during that time when I would allow my farms to be used by women from neighboring communities to come and do their gardening.
Did you have, political ambitions already in 2015 of replacing Jammeh then?
Absolutely not. Like I said, if you had asked me even 6 years ago, I had no political ambition.
Okay.
In fact, if I were trying to do all of those things for political purposes, from the very moment I did those, they would be in the media. You know, you would see somebody build a single borehole and it's covered by all the media.
True.
We've been doing this, helping these village gardens for years. Have you seen it in a single media?
Well, we've never been invited to any of.
Well, I can tell you for a fact, not a single radio station, newspaper, online newspaper, TV station covered any of those support I've provided to all those women in garden. Never.
Because you inform nobody beforehand.
And never inform anybody.
Okay.
Not a single one of them can document, and I'm declaring this. It has never happened. So if that was my idea for starting this years back, you know, it would have been covered widely.
Let's bring the conversation back to why Dr. Ousman Gagigo, economist, would make, a good leader, the right leader. Finally, based on arguments, you've given us that the country has always had a perennial leadership problem, that finally we have the right leader for the country.
No, I think an economic background really prepares you very well. I mean, because fundamentally we have an economy right now that is tanking. We talked about the budget here, and you need to understand the economy overall, and the economy is composed of different sectors here. So when you are studying economics as a development economist, we focus on all different elements of that are critical. It could be transportation, could be energy, could be agriculture, education, health. These are all areas I have worked on.
Okay.
But more importantly, you need to know, for instance, what are the drivers? What are the foundations of your economy? What are the drivers? If you are trying to, do economic planning, which sectors do you prioritize? So being an economist is more than just, maybe people's caricature of it, like, that it's quite broad. But basically, I have been in a situation where I have worked in many different countries. Okay. There is nothing here we are experiencing in the Gambia that is uniquely new, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in energy, whether it's road transportation. I can give you an example of here. When we talked about, as I did just moments ago, when we talked about energy, I can give an example of how it is better implemented in a similar situation in Senegal. The same thing in agriculture. I can give an example in another country of the same thing in education, in energy. So I think here for me, I'm not relying only on my economic background per se, but my, the totality of my background, my understanding of the Gambia, more importantly, being on the ground, traveling around the country, meeting people, knowing what their concerns are, what problems they are facing. Okay. This, to me, I think, is my biggest preparation for that role.
Fantastic.
My education and other background, they are complementary, but they are not the main qualifications for it.
So you've been active since 2015, helping with gardening projects up and down the country. So what role will civil society and grassroots movement play in your party's strategy? Well, I should learn to be saying alliance rather than party.
No problem. Right. No, actually, it is a party. I don't think you are wrong by calling it a political party.
Has it been formally registered with IEC yet?
We submitted the documentation a few months back. We are expecting to hear from them this month. Okay. So I know we are very close to it, but it's the formal notification of registration. No, we have not received it. So
you're positive about being approved, because parties have applied. They've been asked to go back because signatures that they have used had been used by other parties that had registered.
Or wrong signatures on others, Yes. No, we had a quality control process, so we are quite confident in the process.
Okay. Yeah. So by 31st December, we will know whether, the PPA will contest the forthcoming elections or not.
Well, we don't know. I mean, the exact date is up to IEC, but I'm hopeful this month. Okay. But I cannot give you a deadline.
Okay. Yes. So the role of civil society and grassroots, movements, groups, organizations, alliances in your party's strategy?
No, I mean, absolutely. Those ones are critical parts of democracy. When we talk about accountability here, in theory, that accountability is provided by the electorates during the periodic elections. But for the electorates to actually exercise that accountability, that power to hold the leaders and politicians accountable, they need to be informed. And that information, a lot of people play a role, but civil society play a very key role. Most of the time, these are the unsung heroes who, when they are doing the engagements, the sensitization, nobody knows about it. Even the media, most of the time, probably is not aware of it. So for us, when we unveil our manifesto, you will see that there is a whole section for systemic transformation that we talk about. Some, it's quite related to what people talk about in system change. But the key part of that is making sure that you have accountability of leaders. And accountability of leaders, other things about changing norms, having good leadership, basically the ability to implement things sustainably rather than one-off implementations in a sustained way, these are things that you need a very robust discussion, within the population. And you cannot just have a robust discussion between leadership and the citizen without citizen groups there, like civil society groups, that are, preparing the ground for it. So to answer your question, there will be a very, very significant role for civil society groups as far as we are concerned. Without them, you cannot have representative democracy. Yeah.
How will you or your party, your alliance, address this perception that politics in the Gambia is often personality-driven rather than policy-driven?
Yes. This is it's a very good question. One of the things that we
had the president say, for instance, the reason he's going for a third term is he's afraid that if he were to hand over to another party, to another person, that the party
will die,
which is young, yes, will die, because it's not established strongly its foundations yet, its structures.
Yeah. It's quite unfortunate, but that's the reality, and that's something.
And you have the UDP struggling with Dabo continuing,
yes.
Whereas others felt that it was time. He stood aside and allowed others to take up the leadership.
Right.
And you could go to other legacy parties that have the same leaders, and they're still maintaining those leaders.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, that is something, if we want to advance as a country, we need to definitely have an improvement in these areas. Parties should be defined by the policies that they advocate rather than by merely who is there. And one of the things we've done differently is not, we would have a manifesto like any other political party, but beyond that, every single sector in the country that we have, and some cross-cutting issues, whether it is education, health, transportation, energy, agriculture, or cross-cutting areas like youth, gender. In each and every one of these sectors, we do a robust discussion, and this is something that we've prepared documents for, and we are going to engage the voters on this, that there will be a discussion about what is the importance of each of these sectors, what a PPA-led government would do in a particular sector. Because a manifesto would have like a 5-point, 3-point, 10-point plan.
Yes.
But the economy, the country, the whole, the nation is more than those points. So still, for most of the parties, we don't know what they would do in a particular sector. Because if it's not in their 10 points, they must, if they are lucky enough to be voted, privileged enough to be voted, they must deal with it.
Nobody talks about the broadcasting sector.
Exactly. No, actually, it's good that you brought that. We have even have an area on how to deal with media. Yes, civil society. Basically, every sector, telecommunications, media, judiciary, legal reforms. Our party has a document on how important that sector is. What is the current status quo? What the current government is doing wrongly about it? What we will do about that area in the future? We've addressed this in every, and it is it's over 20 sectors and cross-cutting areas.
Oh, wow. Is this information available online? Do you have a website?
No, we have a website. Like I said, again, because of this legal issue of waiting to be registered.
You need to be registered first.
Yes. So we don't want to...
jump the gun.
Yeah, jump the gun, create issues, start acting as if we are a registered political party. Because if we get to that point where we start releasing manifestos, we might have a call from IEC. So we will, we'll follow the process. We hope that we are confident the process will be soon, but this is something that you will see that is very different from PPA. Even this area of system change, many political parties or politicians will just say, we need system change. But what does it mean? Again, we have a document that talks about what does it mean, what are the elements of it.
Just summarize it for us. In the context of PPA, what does system change mean?
Yeah, I mean, there are key components here. Like I said, the fundamental problem in the country we have is leadership. It's there. Patriotism is there. Bad norms is a part of the problem. Underlying drivers of corruption. These are things, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but we'll release this in time. These are the constituent elements of what makes the system fall, not just individuals, but the whole system. You know, making sure that you have public servants who are animated by, you know, patriotism rather than their own benefit, making sure that you have civic duty. These are all things that are important elements of having the right systems in place.
Patriotism seems to mean different things to different people. Some people think, you know, patriotism simply means if Peter Gomez getting up and saying, "Man Gambian law." For them, that's patriotism. And patriotism could mean, yes, you may be opposed to the government, but if the government invites you to work with them, like they did Dr. Ousman Gagigo, you say yes. And even if they give you 30 million and you pocket it, you know, you've answered the call to serve. So, I mean, how would you define patriotism, you know, without being too complex?
No, I mean, simple. I'll just put it in simple terms. Patriotism basically is love for one's country, one's nation, its history, its culture, and, you know, complete dedication, not just in utterances, verbal utterances, but in the way we act. In making so that you are only driven by what is in that country's advancement. It also means the ability to take sacrifices for that country. I know sometimes we hear about some people talking about they've taken sacrifices, and we have Gambians, we have examples of Gambians who've taken real sacrifices. Solo Sandeng sacrificed, he did the ultimate sacrifice by sacrificing his life, and we are all today enjoying the fruits of what he fought for, you know. So people like that, but you know, there are still other forms of sacrifice, but it is definitely not sacrifice if you go and accept a ministerial post where you have a V8 vehicle, all sort of you know, perks, and that is not sacrifice. Even if you have to leave a UN or a World Bank job.
Yeah, because we've heard that argument. Oh yeah, I was earning so much in dollars. I left that position, came back, took a, you know, a Gambian ministerial position where I was being paid what, $50,000 per month. What's that compared to my, you know?
That is
$15,000 per month.
Exactly. That to me is not sacrifice, because again, you know, a ministerial post here gives you a launching pad to an even bigger position than where you were. You know, so you know,
that's not sacrifice. That's not patriotism in your book.
That is not patriotism. Okay. Yeah, I honestly do think. So I believe when we have real patriotism, you know, if I want to be, if you may allow me to give a specific example, sure. a contract like the Trans-Senegambia Bridge, you know, a contract like car power ship.
You almost called it Trans-Gambia. That's what we knew it, you know, I mean, by...
That was the name.
Senegambia Bridge.
Yeah, that was the original name, and in all documents it's still there.
So what about that contract?
No, because here it is, you have an agreement that basically is fleecing the Gambia. This is a bridge that is valued at $500 million US. That's the value of the bridge. And you went and basically got less than 100 million for it. For what?
100 million or less than 100 million?
No, less than 100.
Is it not 100 million?
No. That's what the government said, but they actually got, you see, if you go right now to drop from Soma to Farafenni, you'll see a lot of construction over there that Africa 50 is doing. All that construction they are doing, they took down the toll booths and they want to construct a new one. All that construction they are doing is being subtracted from the 100 million that they've given to the Gambia government. Every work, infrastructural work they ever do in the country, they'll subtract.
So we won't get the 100 million physically.
No,
we might end up with what?
60, maybe 80? If we are lucky, maybe 80. They've already disbursed.
But the argument was, I mean, you had this $500 million worth of, you know, asset that was supposed to make us money.
Yes.
If Africa 50 is giving us 100, over 25 years? By their calculation, we could have run it ourselves, and in over 25 years, we wouldn't make that $100 million.
But what is that saying? Like, the people who are saying that are the ones in government. So if you are saying that here is a foreign company that could do this, but if we the officials in charge of this government, we couldn't do. What is that saying?
Has that not been proven in the case of GPA and Al Bayrak? We had this congestion issue for years and years. Al Bayrak comes in less than 2 months, congestion,
it's gone.
A thing of the past.
Yeah, but again, what is that saying? So here, there is no clearer way that these people could put it here. They are loudly and clearly, without using the words, but saying we are manifestly incompetent at running this institution that we are in charge of.
They'll put it in a different way. They'll say we are not good businessmen. Government is not, good for business.
Yeah.
Which then leads us to, should government continue holding on to NAWEC?
Yeah.
If it's getting rid of Gamtel, Gamcel, and all these others.
Well, even the way all these things they are getting rid of, in principle, it might be a good thing, but in reality, the way they implement, that's always the problem. Sometimes, most of the time, this principle is okay, but the actual implementation is where disaster happens.
Mm-hmm. If you become president, one liability, big liability that you will inherit will be NAWEC.
Yes.
What will you do with NAWEC?
For me, the NAWEC needs serious reform.
How will you reform it? Because there was a time when the Minister of Finance asked for the place to be scrutinized financially. This was while the current minister was still running NAWEC as the managing director. And there was a huge uproar
from
the entire institution.
Well, for me, that the constituent that I would listen to most importantly is the Gambian people. When you're doing any reform, the key here is the reform that will address the energy challenges of the country.
So what do you mean the Gambian people? In the case of Gamtel and Gamcel now, nobody has asked the Gambian people anything. Well, we know Gamtel and Gamcel, even the potential buyer has been named by the minister in the National Assembly. Why sell?
Yeah. No,
an interesting name because...
why sell the company?
Exactly. Just by coincidence.
Yeah. No, listen. What needed to be done in NAWEC what needed to be done in Gamcel and Gamtel has been known for quite a while. Yeah, in fact, many institutions, many private institutions and international institutions have done forensic analysis of the financial situation of these companies, and they've always come to the same conclusion. Gamcel didn't have much of a future. Well, but on the other hand, Gamtel had, could really have been saved.
So Gamcel, yes, you can understand it being sold off, but you think Gamtel could be viable?
Oh, yeah. No, the World Bank once paid one international firm to do a very thorough forensic accounting of both institutions. And it was quite clear. Gamtel has a lot of valuable assets. It could really operate and provide value to the Gambia.
Was this while they had monopoly of the gateway? They were the only ones who operated the gateway, or was it this study? Was it after the gateway had been liberalized and all the other GSM companies had their own gateways?
No, this was still if just a few years back. Yeah, Gamtel could still have, there was still a lot of viability in the company, a lot of assets. The main problem Gamtel had, really, and that was identified, was excessive number of employees that it didn't need. Yeah. You could have addressed that and still save the company, giving them severance packages. Yeah. So what is being done right now in terms of both Gamtel and Gamcel, in principle, what applies only to Gamcel now has been applied to Gamtel when it wasn't appropriate. So whether we got a good deal in this situation in Gamtel, I don't know. I have not looked at the financial detail, and I think a lot of the details have not been released by the government. But we may find a lot of questions there when those details are being released. Going to NAWEC, the reforms that are needed in NAWEC, again, these are one of the areas, our
Speaking of NAWEC,
Yes.
that was NAWEC. Luckily, we have solar.
We have backup. Okay.
We have solar backup. You were advising me to have. We already had.
Good. Yeah. So the thing there is you need a reform in the energy, in the electricity sector. You have three main areas. You have generation, you have transmission, you have and you have distribution.
Distribution. Yeah.
Where the biggest problem we are having in the Gambia, as I've said before, we don't have generation. We've had this crazy deal with car power ship. We are buying energy from Senegal. We need to start, inviting independent power producers, providing the right conditions. But before you can bring an independent power producer, for them to sign a long power purchase agreement with the utility company, they need to be on a sound footing. So as an institution, it needs to be reformed. You need to have serious reform there. You need to have a decoupling between the electricity and the water segment. You need to make sure that the current situation where we have this long-term purchasing of energy, we go towards, in the short immediate term, we actually invest a bit more in energy generation.
Okay. All right.
Without NAWEC being financially sound, you are going to have a situation where we'll have a lot of technical and non-technical losses, and Gambian people will continue to pay high energy costs, but there will be no reliable power supply. And without any reliable power supply, you're not going to have an economy that's functioning. Nobody will come and operate a factory here. You cannot have a production line in a factory and have an outage like we have here right now. You cannot. So that reform is needed.